Hello and welcome to Nutrition with Vibha. I'm Vibha Asija and I would like to address the perennial favorite question or thought that everybody has with regards to one aspect of the diet, and that is about fat. So with fat, we will look at two myths which are there. One, that fat is the villain and is bad for us. And the second one is that ghee or any form of saturated fatty acid is a problem in our diet. So let's go ahead and examine these two aspects. Fats are not the villain. We get so much of nutrition from fats. We get energy from fat. Fat-soluble vitamins are there, the vitamin A, D, E, and K, which is essential for our health. We get essential fatty acids, which have to be there in our system, which we can only get through the diet. This is all what fat gives us. So no, fat is not the villain. But what is very important is that the fat that we take should be the right quantity and the right quality. We also see a lot of people avoiding fat, completely fat-free diet, boiled food, boiled vegetables. But what happens with that is that where is the satiety coming from? Fats give satiety, and that's very important. And if a person doesn't feel full, then the value of having eaten is diminished. So we do need fat to feel a nice, healthy, full, which is again a very important aspect of a good quality of life. Also, having enough of fat makes the food very palatable, very tasty. And isn't that important in our diets? So yes, we put in fats. Another important aspect is that we need to give children adequate amount of fat. We cannot restrict fat from children's diets. So it's important that the right amount of fat is there in the child's diet also. Which brings us to the point, how much of fat should one have in the diet? So it all depends on how much calories we require. So about 20 to 30% of our calories come from fat, which means a healthy amount of oils which is used during cooking. We should not be able to see the oil in the preparation. And yes, some amount of fat which we cannot see is also in the diet. For example, when we use whole milk, or when we use egg, or from meat, or from the very healthy nuts and oil seeds. Adding some almonds, some pistas, some walnuts in our food is actually a very good quality fat that we are having in moderate amounts. Include sources of healthy fats like nuts, seeds, and oils in your diet. For instance, some nuts in the morning breakfast, a porridge or the filling of your masala dosa or a upma, or using the right kind of oil, maybe groundnut oil or rice bran oil for sauteing the vegetables, can really increase the intake of good fats. So, have the right amount of fat. Is there any fat that we should not have? Yes, there is. Trans fats is something that we have to steer clear away from. Where do we get the trans fats from? From fried foods fried in oil which is being used repeatedly, foods from which are processed, which are high fat, the bakery products, the sweets which are available, there is trans fats in this. And these we have to take minimally, because trans fat is something that can cause disease. So if you're going to kind of look at what fats we should have and we shouldn't, then trans fats is something we should really keep away in our diets. For years, ghee has been maligned as an unhealthy fat. Many believe that consuming ghee will lead to heart disease and weight gain. Yes, the big issue that we all have, and the question we ask, to ghee or not ghee? So the answer to this is that when we are looking at health and the kind of fats we have, there's a one component of fat which is saturated fat. The amount of saturated fat that we have has to be limited, not avoided. And why is that? Because the saturated fat, when we are taking that in, it can get converted into the bad cholesterol that we talk about, which is LDL cholesterol, which is the one that is causing heart disease. Now the thing is, therefore, we look at where is all this saturated fat coming from, right? Saturated fat comes from milk or cream or butter, yes, ghee also, from meat, from egg, and also from coconut oil. This is our source of saturated fat. So when we are looking at ghee, it's not avoidance of ghee. It is limiting the ghee. So therefore, what do we do with ghee? How much can we use? Let us use some amounts, little bit in the tadka of the dal. some vegetable preparation with ghee. Touch the ghee and pack the rotis with it because that flavors are just absolutely wonderful. Sometimes with some amount of ghee in some desserts or sweets or Indian sweets typically, yes, that is all right. But having more than 1/3 of the fat that we have from ghee, that is not advisable. Ghee also has conjugated linoleic acid, which is seen to have some benefits. It is also digested in an easier form and metabolized, that is used by the body in an easier form. So about 1/3 of the fat that we are using can be ghee plus the whole milk plus butter. Okay, it's not exclusively ghee because saturated fat comes from multiple sources. And another extremely important thing that we must talk about is for adults, we are keeping this moderation. But for children, this much of moderation is not required because they need the saturated fatty acid, be it from whole milk, be it from ghee, be it from butter. They do need it so that their brains can develop, so that their nervous tissue can develop. And so do adolescents and prepubertal children require some amounts. Why? Because they are developing their reproductive system, and for the reproductive hormones to form, some amount of saturated fat is required. Incorporate ghee in moderation. For example, some ghee in the dal or over the chapati can add flavor and nutrition. Always opt for homemade or organic ghee to ensure that you are getting the healthiest version. So yes, I hope this helped. And because this is a question that we always have, the answer is moderation and taking care of it, and where it's required, we give it in the right amounts, choose the right fat, avoid the fat which is not good, which is trans fats. Please visit a nutritionist for one touch point at least to consult on how much of fat and what kind of fat is it that we are looking at. So do like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do head on to our blog and read the blog specifically on fats and oils which we need to be using in our diet, and please read all the other material which we have created and crafted just for you to better your information on right nutrition and lifestyle choices. So stay empowered, stay nourished, and stay blessed.